If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
We talked before about Ben Grubbs and how the numbers have to work for you and for Ben. What's your thoughts on just making a push to at least see if it can work out?
Well, Ben is a player that we would love to have back in Baltimore. I think we've had some conversation with Pat Dye, his agent, already. We will see how things will work out between now and the beginning of free agency on March 13th.
When it comes to Joe Flacco, you're just at the start of it. It promises to be a process. What is your thoughts as you kind of kick into that process by sitting down with his guys and kind of just seeing where things are?
Well, sometimes in negotiations it can be done in 2 days or it can take 12 months. I think there's a willingness on both Joe Linta and Joe Flacco's part and Steve and the organization part to get the deal done, and we're going to push toward that.
What kind of head coach will Chuck Pagano be with the Colts, and how do you think his team will play?
I think Chuck's going to do a very good job. He engages the players very well. He's very good in understanding the defensive side of the football. I think he knows what it takes for a good offensive football team to look like. I think he's done a very good job of putting his staff together. I think that's a very good hire by Ryan and Jimmy Irsay.
Do you think his team might look more like an AFC North team than an AFC South team eventually?
Well, you know what? I think the coaches these days are building their team to their strengths. And whether Chuck doesn't have Nada and Cody, but he could have Mathis and Freeney. So I think you build to your strengths, and that's the only way you can be a success.
Has anything changed? The state of the Ravens dress, you talked about what you have to lose for growth, and you weigh, to keep him. What has anything changed in that regard that made it more practical to keeping him?
Well, we've had the opportunity to assess our roster, and we will make some moves between now and March 13th to release some players. We've already got one player that has decided he was going to retire. So we have a strategy in place that will allow us to have the ability to sign players that we want to sign and to be able to franchise Ray if we have to. Hopefully we won't get to that, but we have a plan in place.
Is that Foxworth retiring?
Do I now?
Is that Foxworth you're talking about retiring?
I don't know. I have a meeting with Foxworth when I get back next Thursday, and I don't know what his intentions are.
With Ricky hanging him up, how much of a priority is it to get Ray some help or a little bit of security back there with him?
Well, we like Anthony Allen, a young kid that we drafted out of Georgia Tech, and we're going to give him every opportunity to be that guy. Now that you've had a guy on campus for a full year, it's almost like having those two young tight ends last year and having a good feeling that those guys could play for us. So we got Anthony, we'll give him every opportunity. We got Damian Berry, he'll get some opportunities also. And then if that doesn't work, we'll go into the August like we did last year and try to get that help.
What can you tell us about the status of Sergio Kendall and what you guys are thinking, moving forward, what the expectations are for next year?
Well, we're looking forward to Serge being a part of the offseason program. Starting from day one, being a part of the offseason program, go through the OTAs and the mini camps. I think we have a very good handle on what his strengths and weaknesses are, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can integrate him into the defense. But we think we have a very, very good handle on him, but I think this offseason is going to be very beneficial for Serge.
A lot of teams now are playing a combination of 3-4 and 4-3 looks, interchanging within games, from game to game. How difficult is it to find front seven guys who can play both of those?
Well, I think right now with the players that are coming out of college, I think it's easy to go from a 4-3 to a 3-4 because you got guys that have the potential to be able to drop that all they've been doing in college is rushing or playing against the run. And so it's easily to get them to understand how to drop and where they need to be in coverage and vice versa. So I think it's easier than people think, going from a 3-4, because, I mean, can you tell me what defense do the Ravens play, a 3-4 or 4-3?
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Ozzie, you have a tall quarterback. How important is height when you evaluate that position?
Well, I mean, we have height, weight standards for every position, and but then there always are exceptions. I mean, Michael Vick might be an exception to that because, you know, he can find alleys and places to throw the ball between people, or he has the athleticism to be able to move around and get the ball out. But, you know, to have the big guy like Joe that can stand in the pocket and see over most offensive linemen is a benefit.
Well, RG3 measured in at 6'3" or 6'2" and 3/8 today. Is there a difference if he had been 6'1 and a half? You know?
To be quite honest, I'm picking 29. I don't think I have to worry too much about RG3.
What's your assessment of this year's running back class?
Do I now?
What's your assessment of this year's running back class?
Have not had the opportunity to assess any class at this point. I mean, we've had one series of meetings. You know, the combine will go a long ways into giving us information about how good the draft is going to be. But it's too early to say how good one position is over another, in my estimation.
Jared Johnson said he'd like to retire with you guys. That's his desire. He wants to come back. How much is that a possibility that something can be worked out with Jared for continue with you guys?
Well, I had a conversation with Jared at the end of the season, and I told him I would maintain communications with him throughout the process. And Jared is a Raven. He plays like a Raven, and we'd love to have him back if things can work itself out.
Have you got a chance to study some of the Alabama defenders that could be in the draft? Barron, Upshaw, Hightower?
I mean, most people probably could answer that question for you. You gonna ask me something about Alabama? Yes, I've had a chance to study all those guys. I was at the national championship game, so yes, I have.
What do you like about that?
Well, you know, in watching that defense this year, it was very similar to the way we played defense in 2000. I mean, they're able to stop the run, they can rush the passer, and they had great guys in coverage, and then you had a ball hawk at safety. So if you want to compare the two, it's hard to do a college team versus a pro team, but it looked very similar to me.
Like pro-ready, that kind of thing?
I'm not saying for that level of football.
Right.
You know, they were as dominant a defense as it could be for that level. Whether that would translate, you take those same players and put them up against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, I don't know.
Pat Edwards, Houston wide receiver at table 1. Pat Edwards, table 1.
He intends to, is that the case?
Who's that?
He intends to come back, is that the case?
Yeah, he met with John, and he told John that, you know what, he's going to get himself prepared to come back and play in 2012.
What is it about your draft process of personnel that makes you so consistently good over the years while other teams are hit or miss?
Lucky.
Has the emergence of tight ends like Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham changed your thinking as far as guys you have to go out and get to defend them?
No, not really. I think there has always been the case that if you can get an athletic tight end, that he present mismatches. You know, if you try to put a linebacker on him, he's going to win those battles. You try to put a safety or corner on him, then he's going to win the size battle. So I think those matchups has been there since the 70s, and I don't think it's changed. And not only you talk about New England, but with Jimmy Graham, but I think, I know I like the two that we have because they present the same mismatches.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.